I've noticed that a lot of people use AI for medical advice. I know that I've done it. You may have done it, or at least you know someone who has. And we also know that AI has a tendency to make things up. That is, they hallucinate, state things that aren't true, and they state it very confidently. Now, you would think that that would be a big problem for asking health information, but still we do it anyhow. Now, ideally, this AI would use only legitimate sources of medical information when it's answering our question. Notebook LM, for example, from Google, uses an approach where you provide it with up to 50 different sources that you have specified and identified are reputable sources. And when you feed those in, Notebook LM knows that it is only to use the information in those sources and nothing else. And that's one way to get around the problem of hallucinations. We say that it's grounded in that material. Now, we really can't do that for medical research, though. First of all, I am not a health professional. I wouldn't know what information to give Notebook LM in the first place. I mean, it would probably be peer-reviewed academic research, but I don't have access to that in the first place. So what to do? Well, it turns out that in addition to the large language model that most of us know about, the ChatGPTs, the Geminis, and so forth, there are specialty AI tools as well. And some of those are ideal for just this sort of situation. And I'm excited to show you my favorite one of all, which is called Consensus.app. This is an AI tool that uses only medical research from academic journals when it's answering questions. So let me show you how this works. Okay, let's say that I'm considering taking Ozempic. I want to lose 20 pounds. I'll be on it for a couple of months. And then I want to get off it because I've lost the weight, right? But I'm wondering, are there any long-term side effects that will continue on after I've stopped the medication? If so, what are they? How likely is one to experience them? Does this depend on your age or nationality or anything like that? So you can see I've entered that into ChatGPT. And sure enough, it starts giving me information. And basically, the summary is that the only long term effect that happens to most people is that the benefits reverse. You end up gaining the weight back. Now, it does say that there are some cases where there can be more serious health issues, but those are pretty rare. One thing that I really appreciated is that ChatGPT did a web search. It didn't just rely on its training data. And as it goes through and makes statements, it actually cites where it got that information from. So you can see here's a statement here, and it lists PMC1. If we look at that, we see that it's coming from the National Library of Medicine. Okay, very good. That seems like a reputable source. But as we scroll down, we see some sources which seem a little bit suspect. Here is a statement here. They lose meaningful muscle mass. It may not recover automatically. Health. What is health? Let's click here. See what this source is. Aha, it is a blog post on health.com by Kathy Casada. Not sure if she's a doctor or what. Oh, nice. There's an advertisement here. What is this? Yeah, this doesn't really strike me as a authoritative source of medical information. Yet that is apparently what ChatGPT used for this. Now let's take a look at how Consensus would deal with this. So I've typed in the same prompt here, and the summary it gives is basically the same thing. Current studies indicate that the only long-term issues are that the weight will rebound. But now it has not gone and looked at blog posts. You can see that the sources that it had used, and it has listed them right here. And you can see this article comes from the Diabetes, Obesity, and Metabolism Journal. This one is from the Biomolecules Journal, and this is from the Journal of Clinical Medical Research. See, I feel a lot more confident in what Consensus is going to tell me than what ChatGPT, just knowing the information that it came from. Now let's take a closer look at exactly what these things are telling us. So ChatGPT and Consensus both said that the big problem is that you're going to regain a lot of the weight back. Well, how much are we talking about here? ChatGPT says that about 60% of the lost weight is regained within 1 year. Wow, that's a lot of weight gotten back. 1 year, I don't know. I mean, if it comes back that slowly, though, maybe I can adjust my diet or exercise more. Perhaps it won't be that bad. Let's see what consensus says. Okay, it says here, yep, rapid, often large weight gain after discontinuation. People may regain 25 to over 60% of lost weight within months. Well, that's a bit different than what ChatGPT was saying, right? It was saying I'd gain about 60% of that weight back within a year. This is saying, well, it may not be 60%, it may be less than that, it may be more, but it's going to happen a lot sooner than you expect. See, that's important information for me. And if we look down here at the next bullet, it continues on and says that there's going to be a rebound in weight, BMI, waist circumference, and it's going to happen so much and so fast that you really only achieve modest net benefit 6 months after being on therapy. Well, now I'm starting to think that this may not be worth it after all. Well, let's go back to ChatGPT. The other question we had was that if there are any long-term side effects, does it depend on how old you are or what your gender is? Let's see what it came up with here. Okay, does age, sex, race, does any of this matter? And it says yes. Probably the most important demographic factor is age. And it says older adults are at a greater risk of muscle loss, frailty, et cetera, et cetera. And it says 70-year-olds losing 20 pounds is different from 30-year-old doing the same. Yeah, I mean, that's plausible. It's also notable that there are no citations here. I don't know where it's coming from. That strikes me as more of a conjecture more than anything. Let's see what consensus says. We scroll down here. Here's our question again. Does risk differ by age, sex, race? Trials and benefit harm models mostly include middle-aged adults, majority women, but do not report differences among age, sex, and race. Well, this is quite a bit different than what ChatGPT was saying. ChatGPT was saying that older adults are going to be at risk of losing more muscle. This is saying, well, older adults haven't really been studied that closely. It's mostly been middle-aged women. And those studies that have included older people haven't really seen age as much of a factor. Okay, so I hope you can see some of the advantages of using Consensus over ChatGPT for medical issues. Consensus is an example of a new type of AI platform termed vertical AI, and that differs from the ChatGPTs and Geminis, which you can think of as horizontal AI. They try to amass a large amount of information about a lot of different things. Vertical AI, as the name implies, is just interested in information in a single vertical, a single industry, a single niche. Vertical AI works by leveraging specialized knowledge, like we just saw. Consensus uses information only available in peer-reviewed academic journals. You could, for example, just use proprietary knowledge, and this could be very useful for organizations. Now, we looked at consensus, but there's actually more and more of these vertical AIs cropping up every day. For example, there's one called Harvey.ai for legal applications. There's AlphaSense for finance. There's vertical AIs for logistics. And you're going to see more and more of this in the coming year. Why? Because using vertical information, specialized knowledge, helps mitigate hallucinations. And grounding these models in approved sources is going to be critical for improving adoption in critical applications such as healthcare. Now, oddly enough, the fact that these vertical AIs are grounded in curated sources is a bit of a weakness too. It's the so-called curation paradox. Okay, so the information has been curated. By whom? What are their credentials? What is their bias? What is their agenda? You don't know. Consensus, for example, uses academic peer-reviewed studies. Well, I suspect that means that the majority of their information comes from Western sources. If you're interested in alternative medicine or traditional Chinese medicine, I bet you that's not part of the curated sources. So keep your eye out for a vertical AI. They're very useful, certainly for healthcare. Now you know exactly where to go. Vertical AI is going to become more and more important. Thanks for watching. I hope you've gotten a lot out of this video. Stay tuned, lots more great stuff coming. See you next time.